Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining. So today's topic for this webinar will be Google Cloud PubSub, and our agenda for today would be Shweta, can you go to next? Yeah. Okay. Our agenda for today would be first is introduction to PubSub, where we'll tell what is PubSub and its key features. Second, its components and message flow, where we're going to explain what are the components of PubSub and the workflow of PubSub and how it works. And then PubSub and its competitor services. There are here we'll explain what are the similar services available in the market. Fourth is PubSub in industry. Here we'll explain why few companies chose PubSub over other services. And fifth is use cases. We'll be explaining two use cases of PubSub. One is notification service and other one is use of PubSub in fraud detection. And finally, we'll wind it up with a demo where we'll be showing how to use a PubSub, Google Cloud PubSub as a notification service and also for streaming of data. Next. Yeah. So introduction to PubSub. So PubSub basically a asynchronous messaging service for exchanging of messages between two different applications without knowing the identity. It also serves as message-oriented middleware or event ingestion and for delivery of streaming analytic pipelines. It includes automatic scaling and good end-to-end encryption. It is built on core Google infrastructure component like that many other Google products, including Google Ads, search engine, and Gmail engine uses to send millions of messages per second. It also offers durable message storage and real-time message delivery with great availability and consistent performance at scale. So it also provides good identity access management, like authorized users can access the messages. We can also configure these IAM operations at project level or at resource level, and we can give roles like viewer, editor, or owner for those messages and topics. And there are few key features of PubSub. First one is auto scaling and auto provisioning, with support from 0 to hundreds of GB. So in case of PubSub, there is user will not be able to provide the capacity. PubSub by itself auto scales the capacity based on the requirement. And next one is independent quota and billing for publishers and subscribers. So basically pricing is based on two important features. One is message ingestion and second one is storage of messages. So PubSub supports the PubSub pricing is based on these two things. And third one is global message routing to simplify multiple region systems. PubSub servers run in all the Google Cloud regions around the world. So it can be accessible from anywhere. And next one is scalable and in-order message delivery with push and pull modes. So there is a feature called message ordering in PubSub. If we enable this message ordering, we receive the messages in the same order that PubSub has received from other services. PubSub also supports Open API and client libraries in 7 different languages, which is supported in cross-cloud and hybrid deployments. Apart from this, PubSub also supports at least once delivery. That is, the message will be delivered to the user, that is subscriber, at least once. And it also has very good Google Cloud native integrations. That is, PubSub takes advantage of integrations with other Google services like cloud storage and Gmail update events and other cloud functions, etc. So these are few features of PubSub. Next, we'll be moving on to the components and workflow of the PubSub. So basically, PubSub consists of few components like publisher, topic, subscription, message storage, subscriber, and messages. So firstly, publisher applications creates a topic and messages, and these messages will be sent to the topic. And these messages are stored in the message storage until these messages are acknowledged by all the subscribers. So when the message is acknowledged by a subscriber, then it will be removed from subscription backlog, and it will not be delivered again as these are acknowledged by the subscriber. So PubSub forwards messages from topic to all the subscriptions individually only. So how does these subscribers receive messages? So in order to receive these messages, the subscriber has to create a separate subscriptions for the particular topic for which he wanted messages for. So this can be done in two ways, that is by pulling or pushing method. In case of pulling method, the subscriber application explicitly calls a pull method and request messages for delivery. Then the PubSub server in turn responds with a message. This is how pulling works. And in case of pushing, the PubSub server sends a message as an HTTP request to the subscriber application at a pre-configured endpoint. So this endpoint again acknowledges the messages by returning an HTTP code. So how do we know that if our application wants pulling method or pushing method? So based on few metrics like endpoints, efficiency, throughput, and flow control, we'll be able to decide if the application wanted pulling or pushing method. So there are few examples where we can choose pull method. Like if the volume of messages is very large, then it is better to choose pull method. And if we want good efficiency and throughput also, we can choose pull method. We have to choose push method if there are multiple topics that need to be processed, then it is better to choose push methods. These are very few examples where we can choose pulling and pushing method. And also the subscription, it has an after the expiration, like the subscription by default expires after 31 days of inactivity. So when I mean inactivity, it refers to no active connections with publisher or subscriber, or for pulling of messages or pushing of messages. So it expires after the 31 days of inactivity. So so acknowledgement should be done from the subscriber side. So once the message is sent, the subscriber should acknowledge it. What if the subscriber is not acknowledging the messages? So till before acknowledgement, the messages which is sent by the publisher to the subscriber, those messages are considered as outstanding messages. And this stays as outstanding until the subscriber reaches a particular amount of time called as act deadline. So the PubSub server waits till the act deadline time. So if it goes above that time, the PubSub server by itself will attempt to redeliver the messages. So while the message is outstanding to the subscriber, the cloud PubSub tries not to deliver any other messages for other subscriber for the same subscription, because for one thing, the outstanding messages are being redelivered. So this is how it happens. And and what if the publisher, there is another case where publisher sometimes resends republishes the same content. So to avoid this, there is something called PubSub IO connector. If we are connector, then the publisher will not republish the same content. So this is how it works. And so who can be publishers and who can be subscribers? Publishers can be any application like an app engine or an installed app for mobile or desktop, or even a browser also. In case of subscribers, there are again two types of subscriber because of pulling and pushing method. So in pull subscribers can be an application that can make HTTP request to the PubSub server. And push subscribers can be any webhook endpoints that can accept the post requests over HTTPS. So this is about pulling and pushing to acquire the messages from publisher to subscriber. So again, the communication between publisher and subscriber happens in two different ways. That is many to one, which is also called as fan in, and one to many, which is also called as fan out. In case of many to one, there are many publishers, that is more than 2 publishers, and there is only 1 subscriber. So say if a single subscriber want to receive messages from 2 different publishers, it can be achieved by creating 2 separate subscriptions for the separate topics of a for the each publisher. So this is how many to one works. And in case of one to many, there is only 1 publisher and many subscribers. So that is if 2 different subscribers want to subscribe to the same message from a single publisher, this can be again achieved by creating 2 different subscriptions from the same topic. This is how communication between publisher and subscriber works. So again, there is a few things while creating a topic. So each topic should consist of at least 1 subscription, because if there is no subscription, the messages will not be delivered from publisher to the subscriber, and it will be deleted after a particular period of time. And a single topic can have multiple subscriptions, but a single subscription cannot be tagged to 2 different topics. This is how it works for communication between publisher and subscriber. And how do we measure the performance of PubSub? So basically, a messaging service like PubSub can be measured on 3 important metrics like scalability, availability, and latency. When I mean a scalable service, it should be able to handle increase in load without degradation of latency and availability of the service. So in our case, when I mean load, it is number of publishers the user have created, or the number of subscribers, or number of topics, or number of messages, or size of messages. So these are, when I mean load, these are the things which I refer to. And next one is availability. So a system's availability, it is easy to measure, like how well it deals with different types of issues like hardware issues or software issues or failure due to load. So failure due to load could happen when there is an sudden increase in traffic, that is sudden increase in messages from publisher to subscriber. There will be scarcity of the resources. So the third one is latency. So latency is a time-based measure of performance. In case of PubSub, there is 2 different latency metrics. First one is the amount of time it takes to acknowledge the published message. And the second one is the amount of time it takes to deliver a published message to the subscriber. So these are the 3 important metrics where we can measure the performance of PubSub messaging service. So as I've already told, the pricing is based on the message ingestion and storage of messages. In case of message, like how pricing works in case of a message ingestion and delivery is, the first 10 gigabytes of usage is free, and after the 10 gigabytes of usage, PubSub charges $40 per TIB. So this only happens for few operations like pulling of messages, pushing of messages, or publishing requests, etc. PubSub also charges based on regions. There will be very minute difference in charges based on the region, and it also charges for cross-project billing. Say there are 2 projects A and B, but the subscription lives in project A. Then the project A only will be billed for the data that is pulled from that subscription. So the PubSub charges only for the subscriptions where the data is pulled. If the data is pulled from project B, then it will be charged for project B only. So it's based on where data is being pulled. And the second one is message storage, the place where messages are being stored. This again has 2 cases where PubSub charges. The first one is a user can create a snapshot of a particular subscriptions, so that in this case, message storage fees will be charged for storing the snapshot messages only. Only the snapshot messages will be charged for. And second case is sometimes user want to retain the acknowledged messages. There is a special feature called seek feature, which allows the user to access the I mean, like he can retain the acknowledged messages. In this case, PubSub charges some amount of fees for storing these messages. So it will be at a rate of $0.7 per GRE per month. This is how PubSub charges for the storing of messages or ingestion. Google have also created a product which is similar to PubSub, where the pricing is very minimal compared to PubSub. But the only difference between that product is called PubSub Lite. So the only difference between PubSub Lite and PubSub is, in case of PubSub Lite, it uses a zonal storage and pre-provisioned capacity. So the users have to provide the capacity of what he'll be using in the future in beforehand only. It doesn't allow auto scaling also, but in case of PubSub, it does allows auto scaling. So this is the only difference between PubSub and PubSub Lite. And Shweta, can you move on to next slide? Yeah, moving on. There are few other messaging services which are similar to PubSub, like Apache Kafka, Amazon Kinesis, IBM MQ, Azure Event Hubs, and RabbitMQ, etc. So this slide is basically, it just gives a better overview of what each service does and few important features of each service. So first one is Apache Kafka. So Kafka is a distributed streaming service which is originally developed by LinkedIn. In this case, the APIs allows producers to publish data streams as topics. These topics are similar to the topics which we have seen in Google Cloud PubSub only. And Apache Kafka can be installed as an on-premise solution or also in cloud also. It can be used as cloud-based service also. And in case of Apache Kafka, the user have to configure and scale according to his requirements only. So few advantages of Apache Kafka is it has a very good and high throughput. Like it is capable of handling high velocity data and high volume data, and it has low latency, and it can send messages with less amount of time. And the only disadvantage of Apache Kafka is it doesn't have a complete set of monitoring tools when compared to the other services. It does actually have a monitoring tools, but it is not as efficient as other services. And in case of Kafka, there are few cases where there will be a degradation of its performance when it comes to message pooling. So this is also another disadvantage of Apache Kafka. And coming to Amazon Kinesis, this is also a cloud-based real-time processing service. In this, the producers can push data as soon as it is created to a stream topic. Kinesis have partitions called as shards, which is determined by a particular partitioning key. And Amazon Kinesis also have few features, like it is very fast, like buffering and processing streaming data will be very fast when compared to other services. And it also has a very good and great management. Like while operating with Kinesis, the users doesn't need to manage any infrastructures because it is automatically handled by Amazon Kinesis. And it also have low latency, and but also the users have to pay only for what they are using and what they are opening. This is about Amazon Kinesis. And next one is Azure Event Hubs. So basically, this is an event ingester capable of receiving and processing millions of events. But only difference is in Azure Event Hubs, the producer sends events to a particular event hub via HTTPS requests or AMQP requests. And in Azure Event Hubs also, the users must pre-purchase the capacity in terms of throughput. It also has a few features like low latency, and it also has at least once delivery and capable of receiving and processing millions of data very fastly. And finally, we have seen about Google Cloud PubSub, where publisher creates messages and sends it to the topic, and subscribers will be able to access those messages via subscription. And it also has auto scaling and auto provisioning, and it also has low latency and things. So basically, it's again the user's choice of selecting a particular messaging service based on his business requirements. For example, if the user wants to send the messages which are bigger than 1 MB, it's better to choose PubSub compared to other services. And if the user want partitioning, but which is not under user's control, it's again better to choose PubSub service, because in other services, users have the control of changing the shards or partitioning of the capacity can be changed by the users by himself manually. If the user want his messages to be persistent more than 7 days, then he can choose a service other than PubSub, because in case of PubSub, the retention period of the messages will be by default 7 days at maximum only. So other services have more retention period compared to PubSub. So uh, a user also can select a service which is based on languages supported by each service. So it is certainly isn't recommended to stick to a rigidity. It's purely based on the business requirement before he's selecting a messaging service. Um, from here, Niharika will be taking on.
Thank you, Lakshmi. So yeah, now we'll just look into the industry and see how PubSub has been performing and is performing currently in the industry. So to start off with, let us take an example with Spotify. As we all know, Spotify is a very famous music application. Earlier, Spotify had its infrastructure with Apache Kafka running on the Hadoop cluster, but Spotify was facing problems with the Kafka. A few of the problems were the Kafka producers had issues with stability because they were not able to handle the production traffic that Spotify was having. And in case of Apache Kafka, if one or more the Kafka brokers were removed or it had some issues, the whole service had to be restarted. And the mirror maker of the Kafka service delivered messages only on best effort basis. So when there was a problem with the destination cluster, what Kafka service does was it simply dropped the data, and so there was loss in data also. So Spotify team was searching for an alternate service which would have a reliable persistent queue, and it should be able to retain the delivered messages. And they were also planning to move to cloud service, and they were evaluating Google Cloud PubSub. The features which attracted them were the PubSub had global availability, and it also has REST APIs using which the client can write their own libraries. So here, the Spotify decided to evaluate PubSub based on two tests. One was the producer load test, where around 2 million events were published per second to PubSub topics, and PubSub outperformed Kafka in this test, and it was able to publish and receive 2 million messages without any service degradation, and there was no server error in the PubSub backend also. One another feature here is Spotify had its own internal metrics to evaluate the progress, and GCP comes along with its own metrics as well, like with the Stackdriver monitoring and all. And from comparing the internal metrics and the metric exposed by Google, the two graphs matched perfectly, meaning PubSub was performing up to their expected standards. And the second test they had was consumer stability test, where the end-to-end latency of the system was measured. Here again, 800K messages were published per second, and the latency was found around to be 20 seconds only, and no messages were lost during the testing period. The latency was low and it was consistent. Another add-on feature is we have a PubSub Kafka connector, which lets us to migrate the earlier existing infrastructure from Kafka to PubSub in phases. And this approach lets us update and test the application, the new service, with minimal downtime and risk of error. So this is how Spotify shifted from Apache Kafka to PubSub for users messaging service. Next in line, we have Sky's experience with cloud. Sky is one of Europe's leading media and telecommunication company. It is based out in London. It provides Sky TV, streaming, mobile television, and broadband. Sky had its infrastructure on premises and was running on the Hadoop cluster. The problem they were facing is with increasing growth and the consumers, the messages were getting dropped, and it was their server found it difficult to process them. They had almost up to 50% of the daily data being held back, incapable of being processed. And also, it was not easy to auto scale because maintaining idle servers uh, only required during peak time, it's an additional cost, and it is a compromise to the entire data set. So Sky looked to create a new cloud-based architecture which could scale automatically and which will have the potential to handle millions of data. Again, they were evaluating Google Cloud Platform's PubSub service to replace its on-premises big data platform to meet the increased demands. So by landing the diagnostic data into Cloud PubSub, we can eliminate the data loss caused due to the bottlenecks in the server capacity. In Sky, around 200 to 300 million events are published per day, and PubSub can handle this volume with no manual interference. We can just publish the message, and PubSub makes sure it is delivered in a proper way. Also, PubSub is massively scalable and globally distributed. So if in case Sky decides to launch its system in another country, this can be done easily with minimal additional setup required. And also, there is the system was found to have no data loss, and it was an easy transition for them as well. So here again, Cloud PubSub proved to be one of the industry's best service. Next, we have Mabel. Mabel is an American company which provides ML-driven end-to-end testing service for automation service to test softwares and identify regressions. It was established in 2017. So they were evaluating for cloud services. They had two choices in mind. AWS, Amazon Web Services, was the master, and Google Cloud Platform had also its own perks. So they were evaluating between AWS and GCP. They were also looking for several other services like file storage, NoSQL database, container services, and all that. So when it comes to messaging service, they had a comparison between Amazon Kinesis and PubSub. PubSub clearly had a vast superiority in terms of scalability and cost model. And so they found that PubSub is easier to scale and had a better pay-by-throughput pricing model. So again, PubSub became the choice of selection. So here we have seen some real-time examples wherein PubSub outperformed its competitor services and proved to be the choice in the industry. They are all totally relative only. There's no absolute leader. So moving on, we'll see about the use cases of PubSub. As we have learned by now, PubSub is used primarily for two uses. One, for message-oriented middleware, where it can act as a notification service, and two, for streaming data into data flow pipeline. In the left, we can see a traditional notification service system. Say, for example, let us consider this to be an e-commerce website or application. The user places an order where it is processed and then sent to the packaging service to be packed, then to the shipping service where it is shipped, and finally the message is sent to the notification service, and the user gets notified on the status of the product. This is a service-oriented architecture with at least 4 microservices. The problem that here is, it is very complicated. And if one service fails, we need to have some retry mechanism to have the whole system running. And it is again a lot of work to put in. If, for example, we need to add in a new service, say some monitoring service to have the logs and all, it will need to interfere with all other services, which in turn requires changes in all other services. So it is very hard for the developers. And if we need to test a single service, we need mock services to test each individual service. They say, suppose if we need to increase the packaging service alone due to some tremendous amount of orders coming in, it will not be easy because they are connected to one another. Scaling involves load balancer, and they can be done independently. Here PubSub can play a crucial role. As we all know, Cloud PubSub is fully managed and it is a real-time service which allows us to send and receive messages between independent applications. So by introducing PubSub, we can build a scalable and robust system of this application by integrating them asynchronously. And this simplifies the development of event-driven microservices application. By the messages by here, I mean, it is similar to order received, package shipped, and all that. So by introducing PubSub to this application, how we solve our problem is each service is made simple. And say, for example, the packaging service just emits a message to the PubSub and receives message from PubSub. So it need not worry about from where it got the message or to whom it is sending the message. So the services become independent, and we can scale the services independently, and it also reduces the dependencies. Any change in the service need not be known by the other services, and they can be scaled independently and changed independently. We can also add in new services. Only thing we have to do is to make a new subscription to the PubSub. And also, if in case any service fails, messages can be stored in this PubSub up to 7 days or till the service is back, and they can be delivered to the system. So here in case, for example, we'll take order service. So we'll create a topic called order, and it will have 2 subscriptions, namely packaging service and notification service. Similarly, each service will have 1 topic and 2 subscriptions. Okay, that was how PubSub can be used as a notification service. Next, we have the use of PubSub in credit card fraud detection. Let me just give you an overview on how this works. We'll have our historical transaction data and demographic data of the consumers in our BigQuery table. And using this BigQuery data, we'll train the ML model using BigQuery ML, and we'll export this data, this ML model to be hosted on the AA platform, so it can work on a real-time basis. And so as and when the new transaction comes, it will invoke the AA platform, and the prediction will occur whether the transaction is fraudulent or not. So whatever the prediction is, the output will be returned to the BigQuery output table. And suppose in case if the transaction is predicted to be a fraudulent transaction, it will be further processed to the PubSub to notify the downstream channels, and it can be used to notify the customers and send an alert message asking the customers if they had made the transactions or not. So if not for them, the transaction can be stopped immediately, and the internal team can freeze the transaction. So here again, PubSub serves 2 main purposes. One is streaming data on real-time basis. So as and when the transaction happens, PubSub acts as the event ingester, wherein it ingests the data into the cloud data flow pipeline for further ML model prediction and processing. And second, it acts as a notification service. So if in case the prediction is found to be fraud, the notification channel sends messages to the consumers or the institution via the Cloud PubSub. So here we can see Cloud PubSub is able to integrate well with other GCP native services like the BigQuery and Dataflow, all that. So these are 2 use cases we have discussed. Now, my teammate Shweta will take you along 2 demos wherein you will see how notification service and how we can stream data for real time in the Google Cloud Console. Over to you, Shweta.
Thank you, Niyaka. For demo, we have 2 demos. The first one is on how you create a notification service. So there are basically 3 steps for this, and I will take you through the steps in the console. First is we enter the Google Cloud Console, and then we go into our topics. Like we go into PubSub and we create a topic. We're just going to name this notification. And so we can add a default subscription if we want to, but the only problem with the default subscription is it will always be only a pull method, and you can't have your acknowledgement deadline. So once you've acknowledged the message, you can't seek to it again. Since over here we want a pull subscription, and we're not going to go back to it after it's acknowledged. We're just going to go with the default subscription. We're going to create it. So it'll take around a minute to create. By this time, we're going to create a bucket in the cloud storage. So what happens is like the aim of this is like when we make any changes to our bucket, it should give a notification in our PubSub. Like suppose I upload something to my bucket, or if I delete something from my storage bucket, it should give me a subsequent notification. So now we're just going to name our bucket as PubSub multi, and we're just going to give it as multi-region and standard because we're going to be accessing things in it. Uniform, and we're going to create it. Now you can also see that your topic's been created, and you can see that there's a automatic subscription that's been the default subscription that's been there with the delivery type of pull. So now what we're going to do is in the cloud shell, we're going to give a command such that this PubSub noti bucket and our topic, that is a notification, is connected. So this is the command for it. So it's cs util, which is for the storage bucket, and to create a notification. Over here, we're formatting it such that it's a JSON format. And since the topic is called notification, we're giving that here. And over here, you can see that the configuration. You can see that the URL is cs PubSub and noti. So I just want to give this and authorize. Now you can see that the notification is created. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to go into this bucket and upload a file. I'm just going to upload this file. So once this is uploaded, you can go back to your subscription here. That is the default subscription that we've created. And you can go into view messages. And you can pull it from here. And you can see that over here, now you can see that this is the bucket ID, and object finalized is because you've uploaded something. Similarly, if I go here and I delete this, it will usually take a minute or so for it to get acknowledged here. So now if you see, I get an object delete here because I deleted the object, and you get the time it happens as well. So what this can do is after that, like this can further be used like in integration with other GCP services to trigger other functions. Like this notification that we get from the cloud storage, we can use it to trigger a cloud function, which will perform several other features according to your requirement. So that's how PubSub can be used as a notification service. So that's what we saw here. We first created the topic and the default subscription. Then we created a bucket and also established a connection. After which we uploaded or deleted a file to see the corresponding message or a notification on the PubSub. The second one is we're going to be joining streaming data from BigQuery, from PubSub to BigQuery. So what this is, so we have 2 data sets here. So one is the US state sales wise region. So now this is a data set that has your state ID, code, your name, and sales region. So this has for around the 52 states in the US, and it's given by region. So this is a historical data that never really changes because the region doesn't change, right? So this is going to be uploaded into our BigQuery, and this is the historical data that we have. So now what we're going to do is we're going to stream this transaction data. This transaction data has the details of the customer, their city, as well as the product. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a data flow SQL program to connect the two data sets based on the state code so that we can get the region where this is purchased. And then we can do several other analytics and visualizations after that to see which region had the most amount of sales to which project, etc. So this is just a basic example. You can this is a data we already have, but you can also stream real-time data using this. Now let's go back. So now we go into so now we have to create another topic. That's a topic for this. So now I've already created this because it needs to be created with a schema. Since this time we're going to be sending messages with a schema, it's just not a text message. We'll have a schema to it, which is a JSON. So this is a schema that I've attached. This is the schema with the first name, last name, city, state, and state. So this is the schema for the PubSub topic. And then we go into BigQuery. And since over here, like once you enter BigQuery, this is the screen that will be visible. But since over here, we are going to be using the data flow SQL, we just have to go to query settings and change this to a cloud data flow engine. So only when we do this, we can get the cloud PubSub topics here. See again over here, you can see the schema of it. Yeah, so now we're just going to upload the first data set we saw. We're just going to create a data set here. Data set. So I'm going to upload the sales seasons files in this. The sales seasons file is the one that has the data of the regions in it. That is a historical data and that never changes. So I'm just going to create, since my first row is a header, I'm going to create this table. Now if you go here, you're going to preview. You can see that this is a table. So now we need to write. So we need to have the query over here to talk about. This is an SQL query to join both the tables. So see, using inner join, joining the transactions from as in the messages that we're going to be streaming through the PubSub and the data set that already exists with the state code. And from the second file, that is a file, the historical data, we're getting only the region. So now you can see that it's valid here, it's a valid argument. So I'm just going to create the data flow job. I'm going to give the output as BigQuery. I'm going to name it. Now you can see that. So your job takes a few seconds to spin up. So by the time I'll show you how the streaming works. So now since the transactions file is in our desktop, I'm going to use my Cloud SDK to upload it to my Cloud Shell. So this is the command for that. So this is a cloud from the Cloud Shell, from my local host. This is the file name, and this is how I'm going to transfer it to my Cloud Shell. So it's been uploaded. Now we can open up our Cloud Shell. I go to my editor. And you can see that this is the file that I uploaded. Like this has all the details here. And this is the program that's going, this is a Python program that we've written to write down to stream the data. So this basically publishes each row as a message. So this is the command, the gcloud project PubSub transaction. So this is the command. And this is how the messages get published. Like for as many rows as it is, it gets published. I'm just gonna run the Python file in my terminal. And you can see that each and everything, like each row is getting printed as a message and it goes as a message. So now it still takes some time for this to get spin up. So I will show you something that I ran previously. I did the same code previously, and this is the output I got. So this is the same similar way. I got the timestamp, the string, all of this from the data set that was uploaded, and the sales region from the historical region. So you can see that both have gotten uploaded here. It takes a few seconds, it takes a few minutes for this to happen. So this is what we did in the afternoon. And you can also, sorry, you can also see the job metrics. So this is the job we ran in the afternoon. So you can see how what happened there, like how the auto scaling happened. And since after that, since once all the data got streamed, it came back to 0, the latency over here. And you can create alerting policies in the job metrics. So these alerting policies will help you get notified in case if your CPU utilization is higher, your throughput is or your latency is higher than you want it to be. So you can see your CPU utilization. So this is when we ran it in the
Shweta,
afternoon.
we
So
can't see your screen.
can you see now? Oh, oh, I'm so sorry. Can you see my screen now?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. So this is the job metrics that you can view. Since this is since we ran this in the afternoon, you can see that at that point of time, there was the data freshness. It was auto scaled around then, as well as the throughput during then, and the utilization of the CPU was high because the data was being streamed then. And then after that, it's lower because there's no streaming happening. Over here, you can also create alerting policies. Like you can just click over here and then create it according to your requirement, and you'll get a notification. Like you can just create what you want here, and you'll get a notification based on that. And the notification can be in the form of an email or a message to your number. Yeah, so this is how it is. So these are running the SQL query, and it's running the query. Yeah, that's about it. It usually takes around like 5-10 minutes to start streaming, so that's why I'm not able to show you the output of the one that we just ran. Do you guys have any questions?
So we have come to the end of our session. If you guys have any questions, please feel to ask us.
I have sent an feedback form. So guys, please fill it and say your opinion on the session.
If there are no questions, I think we are good to end the session. So that's all from our end. Please fill in the feedback form, and thank you all for your patience and valuable time. Thank you all.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you all for joining.